And so there's a difference between supporting and being overbearing as a parent, because sometimes parents actually think they're supporting their children when what they're actually doing is worsening the situation and actually making their children more anxious. Because when you're pressurizing them and always reminding them that they're starting exams on Monday and their results will determine whether or not they will go to a good school for Form 1, things like that, when you actually put it across that way, what you're doing, instead of supporting them and calming them down, you're actually making the anxiety worse. You know, I remember when I was in grade 7, I think it was a day before we wrote exams. So we'd gone out to the field and then we were playing soccer. I remember our teacher, when he heard that, he really got mad at us. And then I think we actually spanked for it, and then we were told to just chill and all. And now looking back, I'm thinking that was actually a good way to de-stress, because you don't prepare for grade 7s like grade 7 exams a day before. Just imagine right now, their grade 6s, grade 5s, who are already going to vacation school, going to school on weekends to prepare for their grade 7. So by the time it's now a day before the exam, you don't expect them to be still preparing. They're already prepared, and they're going to be examined on what they learned all these years. So before that exam, there is that need to just de-stress, there's that need to calm down. A lot of us, when we are under a lot of pressure, we're not able to, our problem solving skills are actually diminished, and we get afraid and we forget things that we actually know. So it's important to calm down, to chill. So when I'm saying supporting them, you're just asking them questions in a positive way. Okay, so how are you doing on your study? Do you need any help from me? What are you looking forward to after exams, so that they're not fixated on just the exams, but they're also thinking about other things, and in that way they calm down. So before I go further and explain more things that I want to, more tips that I want to share with parents on how they can support their kids right now before they just start their exams. Last week I had a discussion with a group of parents. This was a WhatsApp discussion. So when we were discussing this, there is a parent who then sent in a message, which was actually a testimony. They were just describing what happened to them when they were in grade 7, how somebody supported them. And I felt there were lots of lessons to learn, lots of lessons for parents and even for children themselves. So right now I'm just going to ask you to read that letter, and then we will pick some lessons from the letter as we continue.
Right, so it's quite long, so we're going to do this a bit fast here, yeah? It says, hi guys, another very late comer. Thanks, Coach T. We have learned a lot from today's discussion. This has reminded me of many years ago. I will share my very long story, and I hope it may help some parents too. I was doing grade 7. I was bright, but not Rekudaro. My father was seriously ill during the second term. Due to some family dynamics, my grandfather requested that my father was to be brought back home, closer to other family members, where everybody could participate in nursing him. My father had moved far away from home and others due to his work nature, and it was quite expensive for our relatives to be visiting him there than to bring him back home closer to his relatives. All this being arranged and approved, I was meant to stay with our Muzukuru. Our Vangawari Rasta with Biani, my baby. But we stayed along nicely. Of course, he used to drink at home, but he never brought any woman at home during this time. Rasta vaenda kuma sleepovers kuma baby I was sometimes. The problem was, Kanavaripo, I never heard the time to read, because Rasta Wi-Fi music and would be blasting it at full volume. Fast forward to the last Friday before the final grade 7 exams, I received a message whilst I was still at school that my father had passed away, and my headmaster broke the news to me. As we all know, my grade 7 exams usually start on a Monday. My father passed away on that particular Friday. I remember it was a very difficult and challenging situation. As the funeral was underway, everyone was busy. On Saturday, my headmaster came to Zubata Maoko and probably quickly noticed my situation. Honestly, I can say he played a very pivotal role. He implemented most of today's tips. He could take me aside and ask me the same questions, give me space to revise, and when he felt I had revised enough, he would stop me and start teaching me how to play a guitar. I almost forgot I was at my father's funeral. It was so great the way he did it. I couldn't wait for Monday to come so that I could go back to school and share the story that the headmaster himself was at my father's funeral and even taught me to play a guitar. Monday, the exam day, on the exam day, I was feeling almost nervous and anxious. My mother called me aside and prayed for me. As a Christian, my mother's prayer and blessings gave me hope, and I felt better. Then I left for school and straight naenda ku office kwa head kutaura na kwatanga taita. I was given the opportunity to play a few notes by assembly in front of all the other kids. This made me feel like a hero by Chikoro, and we did this throughout the exam period. Exam time Shika, and I was very strong and confident to face it. I wrote my exams as a normal child without any burden, thoughts, or fear. Later, results Wooded at 6 points per 4 subjects. Until today, I believe those 6 were all I could give, and I don't blame the funeral or whatever. Many thanks to my I think you want to say to my mother for the prayer and encouragement, and my headmaster who clearly understood the impact of the topic we learned today. Though I never had a chance to thank him, the headmaster was Mr. Bob Nyabind. Oh man, at R.J. Davis Primary School in Redcliffe, Kwekwe. Some of you are familiar with him. Yes, and may his soul rest in peace.
Yeah, so there are just so many lessons from that testimony. You can imagine the difference that you can make in your child's life if you just are closer to them. You're finding out how they're feeling, because during this time life may happen. There may be a bereavement in the family, or just at the time your child is about to start exams, maybe you as a parent are going through a nasty divorce and you don't know how that is impacting your child emotionally. So it's important to just take time to empathize with the child, to be closer to them, to have conversations with them, and just find out how they're taking it, how they're feeling, and help them to calm down. Because a lot of things that we face, you do not necessarily need somebody to come bring solutions. All you need is somebody to give you an ear. And if that person is listening to you and you feel like you've vented, by just venting, you calm down. By just venting, you're no longer as anxious and you're able to take life head on. So it's important to have discussions. And I think from the testimony, we also learned that you don't have to be the parent. If you're a teacher and you notice that there's a child that actually needs help, you could be there to help. Or if you're a friend or you're a neighbor, you could actually go and help that child. You never know. You may be that one person who will bring a huge difference, and that child's life will be outed completely just because of your little intervention. Then moving on, talking about some other people would then want to be fasting throughout the exam, and it's something that I do not recommend, because I always explain this to students that if you want to pray, you can pray before exams, and God will hear you, and your prayers would work. Then when it's exam time, now you need it to be in the exam. You need your mind to be at its best, and it can be at its best if you're well hydrated, if you have eaten a good breakfast. That means it's also important to wake up early. So if your child is one of those who normally wake up late, you then need to explain to them the importance of waking up early, the importance of just having a good breakfast before they go to school, and also having a checklist. Help them to have a checklist. Ask them what subject they're going to be writing on a particular day, and then ask them to write down everything that they require for that particular exam. Do they need a ruler? Do they need a set square? Do they need whatever they need to write it down. And then they need to pick it a night before, because simple things like realizing that I've forgotten a pencil or something like that, for a grade 7 child, it can trigger anxiety. Now they're thinking,
throw them off balance.
Yeah, and I can't know what's going to happen and all that. And when they get into class now, they're overwhelmed, they're anxious, and it will take time for them before they calm down. And then this is how and why sometimes people feel like exam is too little. So that 1 hour that you're supposed to spend writing your exam, maybe the first 15 minutes you're just trying to settle down. And then the other thing, it's important to explain to your children that the consequences of cheating, because they may just get carried away and then they may want to cheat. They'll maybe come across a question that they feel like, I don't know anything about, but then I'm sitting close to somebody who probably knows, so let me just check out. That can actually get them also into trouble, and it's important to highlight that you shouldn't. And then the other thing, I think I mentioned